Thank you for taking Thank you for taking time. Thank you, Morgan, in this busy morning and busy season to be here for the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation's first economic impact study. Really appreciate you being here. We were very lucky to have an in-person presentation to our board in August, hence the August 21st date on the slides. But we were anxious to have an actual virtual presentation to reach a broader audience. So very glad to have this opportunity to have more folks join us. So again, good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Kendra Green. I'm the Executive Director of the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation. And I'll let my other half, we're a team of two, Morgan, introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Morgan Willett. I'm the Assistant Director at the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation. Just over 2 years now, and I recognize a lot of you. Nancy, I was at the Young Professionals Summit, so lovely to see you again. And just putting a reminder in the chat, if you haven't already, put your name and organization in there to introduce yourself to the group. We will keep everybody muted during the presentation, and it is being recorded. So I think, Kendra, if there's any other housekeeping that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Those are our housekeeping rules. Morgan will be handling kind of our moderating and any technical things for the morning. So again, I just wanted to start by thanking this economic impact study was funded through a huge grant help from the Norfolk Economic Development Authority and LISC Hampton Roads. So we're super grateful for their help in the funding of this study. And it's my pleasure to introduce Mangum Economics. They're a Glen Allen, Virginia-based firm founded in 2003. We have the founder, Fletcher Mangum, here presenting. And Mangum Economics is really known as a leader in industry analysis, economic impact assessment, policy and program evaluation, and economic and workforce strategy development. And their team specializes in producing objective and actionable quantitative economic research. And we're really again, privileged to have been able to use their services for this study. So Morgan has a poll, so we'll be doing kind of polls throughout the survey, and then we'll throughout the presentation, and then we'll go ahead and kick it off to Fletcher to start our brief presentation. And Fletcher, you want to take yourself off mute and we can definitely see your screen. So we are good to go. Oh, and thank you. I just want to recognize Councilwoman Johnson, who just came in. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. Apparently I got muted along with everybody else in the presentation. So anyway, glad to be here. Kendra, thank you very much. I think we need to get you to do the opening for us and all these presentations, if you don't mind. That was great. Appreciate it. We were asked earlier on this year to do an economic impact assessment for the Elizabeth River Trail by the foundation. And what I've been asked to do today is share the results from that analysis. Again, this was presented in August at a live presentation in Norfolk. And this is the same presentation that we did then. Which slide are you seeing? Is it still the title page?
Yeah. Yes.
There we go. Obviously, I'm technologically challenged. This presentation was made for a very general audience, so I apologize for this slide in particular because it's telling probably most of the people in this present or that are in the audience things that you already know. But ERT came into existence in 1999 when Norfolk Southern donated 3,500 feet of a spur line to the city of Norfolk. And that donation paved the way for a $151,000 federal grant. ERT has since gradually expanded to its current length of 10.5 miles. Approximately 624,000 visitors use the trail each year, and I think that number might be a surprise to many people. Between 2018 and 2022, the ERT hosted 364 community events, such as the Tour de Orf, botanical tours, history tours, and Elizabeth River Run. As an economist, one of the problems that we have in doing economic and fiscal impact assessments is a lot of things can't be quantified in terms of economic and fiscal impact, but they still have a benefit. And I'd like to talk about some of those in terms of urban trails right now. Urban trails, one of the quotes that I saw in the extensive literature review that we did in preparation for this analysis was that trails are more than asphalt, strips of asphalt. And I think that's absolutely true. Some of those benefits are that trails improve quality of life. They're a place for people to get together, to congregate, to use bicycle transportation, to go to restaurants and the like. And it's an opportunity to enjoy nature. We're very close to where they live and where they work. They also promote tourism, and most of the economic impact that you're going to see in a moment comes from tourism. Fully 59% of those 624,000 users are from outside of the city of Norfolk. So the money that they spend in Norfolk is an increase in the city's economy. Also increase health and well-being by encouraging outdoor exercise. And one of the great things about trails, and this came out in the literature, urban trails, this came out in the literature review also, is that because it's urban, open access, urban recreational opportunity, it really is uniquely positioned to provide benefit to diverse communities. Also has a positive impact on the environment, obviously, because it reduces fuel consumption and CO2 emissions. And one of the things that came out in one of the surveys that had been done of users, or several of the surveys that had been done of users actually, was that they actually use the trail to do things like go to restaurants and do shopping, commute to work. So it really is a reduction in overall traffic. The data that we use for this analysis, and data is really important, the data on ERT trail use come from the foundation, and they're from fiscal year 2024, and those are collected by trail counters. Those data come from trail counters along the trail. Data on the locality of residents of ERT trail users come from a report entitled The Economic Impact of Bicycle Facilities in Hampton Roads that was produced by the Hampton Roads Transportation and Planning Organization in 2019. The data that we have on local, the expenditure pattern for users of the trail come from a survey that was conducted by Old Dominion University in 2020. And that survey was a little unique because 2020, as everyone knows, was a unique year. So the first part of the survey was done by trail interviews. Our first part of this analysis was done by trail interviews. And the second half of that was done by online surveys. So it's a little bit of a hybrid in terms of the method that they use. Again, approximately 624,000 people use the trail ERT annually. 41% of those are Norfolk residents, and those individuals were excluded from the analysis because in terms of the economic impact that they have on the city as residents, that economic impact would have occurred elsewhere in all likelihood even if the trail was not there. However, the remaining 59% of trail users, again, are from outside the area. So the money that they bring in to the city of Norfolk as a result of their use of the trail has a net economic impact, and we attempt to capture that in this. On average, ERT users spent, and this comes from the ODU survey, $35.45 per visit. Total economic and fiscal impact comes from two sources. The first is visitor spending, and that is the bulk of the overall economic impact. And the remainder, a small portion of it, is the actual budget for the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation and their operating and capital budget. And this is what we found. When we take those data and those inputs and we run them in the IMPLAN model, which is one of the most commonly used economic impact simulation models in the United States, it shows that the direct employment impact from the trail in the city of Norfolk was 127 jobs. 2 of those jobs are from the foundation. The rest of that is actually direct employment, mostly from restaurants, hotels, those places that those individuals spent that $35 per visit. Labor income from that was $4.1 million, direct impact. And the output from that, overall economic output, was $12.1 million. When we add in the economic ripple effects from that, the restaurant has to buy supplies from other people that supports other jobs. The hotel has to pay their laborers, and those household expenditures are within the city of Norfolk, or some portion of those are within the city of Norfolk. When we include those ripple effects, that economic ripple effects, total employment impact on an annual basis from the trail in FY 2024 was 158 jobs, $5.8 million in labor income, and $18.7 million in total economic output. One of the other things that we looked at was the fiscal impact. I mean, what does this do for the city in terms of tax revenue? And the results there were very, very favorable. What it showed was that overall fiscal impact on the city of Norfolk was $677,000 a year. Now, that's an incredible benefit to cost ratio, because if you look at the local funding that is provided to the foundation, it's a 4.5 to 1 benefit to cost ratio. For every dollar that the Trail Foundation receives in local tax revenue, basically, or from local tax revenue, they generate 4.5. I'm quickly looking at my notes because I can't remember if it's 4.5 or 5.4. $4.5 for every $1 that they receive. So again, an incredible benefit to cost ratio. They also generate $541,000 in tax revenue to the state and a little over $1 million in federal tax revenue. And basically, that's our analysis. We were also asked to do a perspective on what other grant funding sources were available for the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation. We're economists. That's really not in our wheelhouse. So, but fortunately, we know someone whose wheelhouse it is in. And that individual is Brian David, who is with me here today. Brian is currently with Go Virginia and the Weldon Cooper Center at UVA. Prior to that, he was county administrator in Orange County. Prior to that, when I first met David, he was executive director of Region 2000, which was the Lynchburg MSA's overall economic development entity. And I think he has worked in local government in a long list of localities in Virginia beyond that or before that. So David knows a lot about local funding mechanisms and grants, and he was able to handle that portion of the analysis for us. David, I think you're going to have to say next slide or something as you go through this.
Sure. Thank you, Fletcher. I'll just add, local government for about 30 years, came up through the planning ranks. I'm a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. Also, I started my career in Isle-of-Wight County, so I'm very familiar with Hampton Roads. In fact, our three daughters were born at Mary Immaculate in Newport News. So with that, I want to, because of time and things, but in this audience, certainly very, very aware of these type of things. But there are two inputs to creating this as the trail as an economic and community development assets. The two inputs are partnerships. The city of Norfolk, and I'm happy to see a lot of leadership from Norfolk staff as well, elected officials here. This is going to have to be that type of public nonprofit partnership in order to bring the trail to, I think, a point that everybody understands and certainly recognizes it as a huge asset to the city. So the formal partnership part is just integral to getting this thing going, taking it beyond where it is right now. Next bullet, please. There's also that partnership of intra-city partnerships, but then there's external partnerships. The Hampton Roads Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Planning District Commission are absolutely vital partners in this because of their regional connectivity, regional forums, as well as helping with the pursuit of state and federal capital improvement grants. Next slide, please. Oh, bullet. And then I think there's a really good opportunity using the Norfolk the foundation to coordinate with other non-governmental organizations, as well as other local government organizations, as well as regional ones, because of the Capital Trail coming out of Richmond. I think there's a prime opportunity of essentially starting a regional collaborative around trail for the focus of getting everybody interconnected and then trying to grow the asset as an income producing operation for the region. Next slide. This is the next input. It all comes down to planning. You need to have the plan, establish the vision, and then go with the technical details and primarily the cost of this. But one of the things that's unique to trails is that in order to access the significant funding at the state and federal level, is that the trail has to be owned in fee simple ownership or an exclusive right of use. I think depends on the funding, but that could be at least 20 years. Without that type of long-term or fee simple position, public funds can't be used essentially to improve private property. Put it that simply. So that's really kind of the first gate that you need. You got to get the partnerships and the coalition and the will going, but then getting the property straightened out. And then you may have some owners that understandably don't want to give up their fee simple, but I've seen and participated in working out long time exclusive use agreements. Next bullet, please. This is, not to use this, but I will. If you don't know where you're going, any trail will take you there. So the idea is to really set up a pretty comprehensive master trail design, and that just gets down into the details of cost estimates. Certainly working with VDOT. VDOT's going to be very important because the primary roads and some of the infrastructure that they're responsible for, and they are mandated to include trails in their location and design of new highway improvements. Next slide, please. And this is the output. The other two are inputs. This is the output. The trail, as Fletcher has demonstrated, is an economic asset to the city and frankly to the region. And so what you want to do is to take that quantitative, those numbers, and then the qualitative data to position it as in this of Norfolk's infrastructure, which then contributes to it. And the innovation Norfolk, Norfolk Innovation Corridor, excuse me. When I started this with Fletcher, it really caught my eye. The first sentence of explaining on their landing page of what the Innovation Corridor is, uses the Elizabeth River Trail as a geo-reference, as a physical asset to get people aligned who don't know where Norfolk is or things, but then they start looking at the geophysical reference. That's huge, because what then that does is, the next bullet, please. This thing creates a what I will call a traded sector adjacent strategy. All the traded sector business knowledge workers, all the things that are the life sciences, all the things that will be inputted into the innovation corridor are traded sector. They're bringing dollars from outside Hampton Roads into Hampton Roads, and through the economic multipliers Fletcher showed, go out and create the regional economy. There are things that are traded sector adjacent, in my opinion, and this is one of them, because this asset then can grow as a lifestyle asset, but the new knowledge workers and all that and those types are looking for this type of quality of life improvement for their work life. So I think there's a prime opportunity to make this certainly as an attractive inducement for business investment along the corridor. So I think that'll wrap it up for me, and I'm certainly glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, I apologize. I keep forgetting that the mouse has to be on the presentation when I click it for the next slide to come down. I think I did mention I'm technologically challenged.
That was perfect. Yeah, I thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. Fletcher, any closing comments? And then I'd love to hear from our folks that are here, questions from the experts and just, from the foundation as well. Thank you.
No, I think the results from this were very persuasive to us. And again, that benefit to cost ratio really struck us. So I think that we were very privileged to be able to do this for y'all, and happy with the way that it turned out.
Thank you. Yeah, we're incredibly grateful, and again, grateful for the opportunity to fund the study through grants. Thank you. Okay, so really happy with the folks that are here today. Thank you for being here. So I'd love to hear from you. Questions for the economic team, or for me, for the foundation.
This is Nancy Gurdon. I'll start. So first of all, thank you for this presentation. I happen to actually be a member of the Norfolk Innovation Corridor Board organization, and I have a comment and a question for you. Number one, you're exactly right. When the Norfolk Innovation Corridor was set up several years ago, the idea was to be a parallel, really, and doing everything you just said, knitting together innovation and green space, which is very important. I'm not sure we as a city or as a group have promoted it as strongly as we could. You know, sort of both things were being developed. So I think a comment there is to your point. It's very unique. A lot of cities are doing similar things, and so I think, you know, again, from a promotion standpoint, we probably could do a lot more to talk about not only that trail, but the intertwining, if you will, the innovation corridor, right? That parallels it. So just a comment. And then a question I do have for you. I happen to be a Norfolk resident, so I see the cruise ships coming in, and I definitely see people walking on the trail or biking. Do you have any breakout in the data at all about that? Or do you have some comments about the impact of that? Because as you know, there's going to be more of that traffic coming through, you know, in the years ahead.
In the Hampton Roads planning district study that was done, there was a breakout in terms of users. And I'm trying to remember, I think that also might have been the case with the ODU survey, but I'm not certain about that. But yes, those data are available. And again, what it showed was that it's multi-users. I mean, it's not just bicyclists.
Right.
And it's multi-purposed. I mean, a lot of these people are using it. Some of these people are using it for commuting. Some were using it for recreation. Some were using it, you know, to take a Saturday and go out to a restaurant, meet friends at a restaurant. So it very much was multi-purpose and multi-users.
I'll share, Nancy. We, as the foundation, we've been working pretty closely with the Half Moon Cruise Terminal as they go through their expansion to make sure that the trail is accessible. As it was set up with the kind of Saturday carnival cruises, the trail was kind of shut down, and so we're really working to make sure that it is open and accessible, and that there's a route for all of the increased traffic that will start in February. What's happening right now, some of the data, you know, from the Mangum presentation again was was you know, 2020 or earlier. So what's happening right now, we have the German ship, the mine skiff, I believe, that's coming in. And so we have worked with Bike Norfolk to they actually have a like a fleet of 40 bikes on the cruise ship. And so there are tours that leave on the trail, that ship comes out. So that is incredibly impactful. I was at Stockley Gardens Art Show 2 weeks ago, and there was a huge group of the cruisers there. So I think that will continue to grow. Yeah. Mamie, sorry, Councilwoman Johnson, let me look at, great question. Who is your direct contact with the city? Challenging question. So I see Keith here. Thank you for being here, Keith. So Keith quickly identified that I was meeting with a lot of city departments on the regular. I was meeting with the Office of Transportation. I was meeting with Parks and Rec, probably not as frequently as I should. I was meeting with resilience and sustainability. And Keith said, well, that sounds really silly. Why don't we bring you to all of the city departments? So we've set that up. He set that up as a quarterly meeting. We've had 2 of those, and that's been incredibly helpful. So we can all be on the same page. But I have to say what our strong goal is that there be a city department or contact that is responsible for the trail. And to this point, we have not had that. So that's something we continue to work towards. I hope that answers your question.
Hey, Kendra, can I elaborate on that a little bit, please, if you don't mind?
Please.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Keith Darrow, City Transportation Engineer for the City of Norfolk. The reason we brought all those groups together is because the trail is unique in that it goes over multiple city assets. So if it's in the roadway, it's public work. If it's in the right of way, it's public works and transportation. But if it cuts through a park, it's parks and rec. And there are easements that it's on through private property. So it really kind of requires a multitude of city departments coordinating and making sure the right responsibility is tagged to the right portion of the trail, if that makes any sense. So thank you, Kendra. That's all I'll say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And then obviously we work very hard to be a sustainable and resilient trail. So we're often working with Megan's department. I think Megan popped off with the Office of Sustainability and Stormwater and all of that. So many facets involved. Yes. Any other questions for the economic team? We're curious if there's any thing that surprised you. The economic team shared our trail counter data from last year, and I can say that this year's data we're already 3/4 into the year on track to exceed that. We're averaging about probably 650,000 trail users this year. Okay. All right. So any final comments or thoughts? Oh my goodness. Okay.
No,
Well,
quiet bunch this
yeah,
morning.
Fletcher.
You all are a quiet bunch this morning, but yes, no, I think this again turned out very well. We were very pleased with the results, and the impact was far, in some ways, particularly from a fiscal perspective, was greater than we anticipated. So I think that the trail is a fantastic asset for Norfolk, and I hope that we were able to demonstrate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate your time on a Thursday morning, the last day of the month. We appreciate all you do for the city and those continued partnerships. So thank you so much. And I will shout out that we have our big glow party at Jeff Robertson Park this Saturday. We'll be cutting the ribbon on another trailhead shelter and celebrating our glow line. So Saturday at 5, we hope to see you there. But we're really grateful to the Mangum Economics team. And thank you, Brian, for giving your insight on partnerships and federal financial sources. So thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Y'all take care.
Thank you.